You're listening to a Brain Stew Fresh Fright Review.
What's up, creeps? And welcome to a brand new Fresh Fright Review. Yeah, you're on that show you like to listen to every single week. That thing we like to call... Jeremy? Jeremy? Dude. You know, it's okay if you miss it one time, but seriously? Like, I'm waiting? It's kind of a thing? Oh. Dude, I totally forgot. Jeremy's not here. Oh, shit. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, our boy Jeremy is totally absent on this episode, but you're listening to an episode of Brain Stew, and our good friend Jeremy, my main co-host, he went to HorrorHound this weekend, the convention, for the premiere of FredHeads the Documentary, so he is not here for this episode. And our good boy, B-Ratty, he's off for the week or two, or whenever, he decides to come back. He will let me know, but ladies and gentlemen, this is a special Fresh Frights review. I am joined by two people you know and you love. And, well, y'all need no introduction, but I will start off with the ultimate, the one, the only, god of podcasting himself, motherfucking LoySauce.
I can't believe you had to dig up my grave and prop up my corpse to get me to come on this show finally.
You're my Frankenweenie, man. I fucking put some bolts in your neck and shit. Used some electricity and brought you back to life for this shit. Oh, there it is. This is a thing. I need to pull the people I know that I need when I need them. So glad to have you back. It's been a while. I think the last thing we did was not Top Gun Maverick. I think you were on for Jurassic World. What the fuck was that movie called?
Jurassic World Dominion with no colon.
That's what it was. Oh, how forgettable it was. But ladies and gentlemen, not only is the god of podcasting back on this episode of Brain Stew, but the man that was here from the beginning on the pilot episode of Brain Stew, our boy Gerald from Two Peas on a Pod. Dude, Gerald, what the fuck is up, my friend?
What's up, guys? What a fucking duo I'm on the mic with tonight. Ooh. Justin and LoySauce.
Yeah, so sound excited, Gerald.
I know, yeah. So, also, fun fact, Jeremy was supposed to be on this episode, but he heard we weren't discussing the thing tonight, so he decided not to attend.
Very true. He's like, is John Carpenter being mentioned on this episode? We're like, no. So, dude, Jeremy went, yeah, he's going to tell this story, I'm sure, when he comes back on the air, but he apparently drove all the way to HorrorHound with a full, The Thing dog prop in his car, and they did a full The Thing reunion photo op thing the entire weekend in which that prop was part of. He sent me some pictures and stuff. I know he's busy. I know he didn't get the opportunity to see the movie we're reviewing on this episode. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a movie that if you're a horror fan, I'm sure you've already seen. We are talking about the film Barbarian. This is a movie that kind of went under the radar, if you will. I don't know. Did you guys know about this movie? Now, I mean, I know LoySauce did because he works at a theater, but Gerald, were you aware of this movie like 2 weeks ago?
Maybe right around then. We'll talk a little bit about it when we get later into the discussion because it's going to be a subject that I want to tackle. But I think the fact that I did know about it and how I knew about it is partially what kind of influenced me a little bit in my take on the movie. So I'll elaborate more later. I don't want to give too much away at the top here. But yes, I heard about it probably roughly a couple weeks ago.
And LoySauce, you clearly knew about this movie.
Well, sure. But here's the thing. I mean, so Barbarian was number one at the box office this past weekend. It made just over $10 million. So it's
how fucking amazing is that?
Shit! It is amazing. It's already made its budget back. This kind of scrappy little thriller that came out of nowhere and people are out and supporting it opening weekend. That's fantastic. Made for an extremely modest budget. The thing is, though, like, this was released by a major studio. This was Fox. Well, excuse me. It's 20th Century Studios now because, of course, Disney bought out Fox. So we're not exactly rooting for the underdog here because Disney gets even that money, even the money that's not going to Marvel movies and, live action remakes of Disney animated classics. This is a R-rated, pretty fucked up horror movie that's being released by Disney, which is insane. But anyway,
Right.
So I
Well,
knew...
no, I mean, it's insane, but it's great, though, isn't it, though?
Sure.
That it's not just Disney churning out remake after remake. I know a little bit pre-show we were talking about, Little Mermaid remake and, fucking Pinocchio remake and all that garbage.
Yeah.
It's like, and I hate to call it garbage. I haven't watched it. It's like, I really can't call it that. But what I'm saying is more shit that Disney's churning out just, to throw at people. Here you go. But the fact that they're actually like open to this in this sector of the company and the studio is like, okay, please allow this to keep happening. Please, please, please.
Yeah, whoever made that decision, keep him in charge because we need more movies like Barbarian.
No, I was going to say I agree with everything Justin said. I think it's cool when these the big guns kind of get involved in the little niche stuff. It's like not everything can be an indie filmmaker with the camcorder in his backyard. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need the big guys to get involved. So I think there's something to be said for that, Disney's involvement. I mean, it's weird, it's strange.
You know what else is strange?
But
this film is conspicuously nowhere to be found on the official 20th Century Studios website. You see like you see like Prey, you see Avatar 2. You even search up the name Barbarian in their search engine, nothing comes up. How weird is that?
That is really weird.
I think it's fascinating. I think it's fantastic. I love the idea of having a movie like this kind of hit audiences by storm the way that it has. And I didn't even know the box office numbers, LoySauce. I didn't look them up, so thank you. It's amazing to me to see a movie like this do gangbusters and people go out to see it because, number one, it has no huge stars. I mean, it's got Bill Skarsgård. I mean, people know him from one main thing. We know what it is. You want a balloon, Georgie?
Oh.
So this thing's happening and it's doing something. And going back to how we all know about this movie, I had heard the title. And for once, me doing this show, me being a horror person, reviewing movies or whatever, I have my wife to thank for reminding me about this movie because we were at Alamo Winchester. She's like, "What's that poster? Barbarian? Do you know about that?" And I was like, "Oh, I think Bill Skarsgård's in that." She's like, "Oh, that poster is cool." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever. I'll tell you about it if I know about it." Then we go into the theater to watch some other movie. I forget what it was. And the trailer played, and she's like, "That looks great." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. That looks fantastic. Holy shit, we need to see that." So for once, it's my wife telling me, and Danielle, I know you're not listening to this part of the episode as you edit, but thank you, darling. I love you because you literally were like, "We need to see that movie." And it was not on my radar.
We love you, Danielle. Thank you.
It was probably Nope because I saw the trailer before.
You're right. It was Nope.
When I
Yes,
saw it in the theater, and that was when I actually learned about it. So 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Well, speaking of the trailer, I mean, I think the marketing for this movie, I mean, despite the studio not having the film on its website, very odd. The marketing is very clever because the trailer only shows maybe the first 30 minutes of the movie. And everything else that happens in the movie is just a wonderful surprise. And we'll get into it. I think that's effective in terms of, like, when I watched this movie, I was unbelievably nervous because I had no idea where it was going, what it was about to show me. So, I mean, I think the way that they at least constructed that trailer, whoever cut that trailer.
From a trailer perspective, I agree with
brilliant
you. 100%. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And I hope, I mean, and if not many people have seen the trailer or not many people have heard of the movie necessarily, I hope that word of mouth helps this movie stay afloat at the box office and gets more and more people to see it. I hope that people go out and see it before they get spoiled because this is the kind of movie that is, best enjoyed if you have not had it revealed to you. And,
without a doubt. This is so cliche when, especially in the horror genre, it gets regurgitated where the less you know, the better. But this is 100% the case with Barbarian. Like, I wish that I hadn't seen some of the things I had seen on social media before I saw it.
And so you saw some stuff where someone...
Yeah. No, well, I saw some folks' comments, and then I guess I could talk about it now. It's not really... Can we stop doing this thing where it's like the scariest movie in 100 years, like, and they'll put up... Have you seen that? And they'll show the audience, like, freaking out at the movie.
Oh, that clip that they're using for the promotion and stuff, where the audience is going, ah!
Look,
can we stop doing it? I mean, it does, but...
I think it's an effective...
wish I hadn't seen that before I
think that's
saw
an
it.
effective tactic. I remember seeing the Evil Dead remake. And
same shit. Some people were puking, heart attacks, and the whole thing, right?
I didn't know until afterwards, but I went to a screening where they had that night vision camera in there, and they were recording people's reactions. I'm assuming for viral marketing. We had to sign a waiver. They had it was like an early screening, and we had to sign a waiver that says like you may be photographed or something in this screening. And I don't know if
I hope you kept your dick in your pants, unless you really wanted to become the next big porn star.
During the Evil Dead remake, I mean, it was pretty hard not to,
Yeah, it had to be out. Let's be honest.
But anyway, so I think that's effective. I do think this movie is a little bit a victim of overhype. I'm not saying that I didn't love this movie because, I mean, spoiler alert, I did. But, I mean, there's always that expectation when you go in, when you hear like, oh man, this thing's crazy. Like your mind just goes like crazy with imagination and trying to, when you're watching it, you're like, it's hard when people have, built it up for you. It's hard that your expectations meet that, that level of hype.
It's just a tough thing. I mean, we're all 80s horror fans, and
we're
like
jaded. We've seen everything.
Yeah, but I mean, when you take yourself back to a pre-social media age, like you didn't have to deal with shit like this. Like, imagine if this movie, for example, had come out in like the late 80s. Like people would have just went to see it, and they just would have been fucking, floored about what they were watching. But I mean, you're right on so many levels, LoySauce, because it's super effective because it's going to get people intrigued, and they love to be scared at the movies. So they're going to be like, oh my God, this is the scariest movie in 10 years. Like, what? Like, we have to see this. But then, like, you're setting their expectation level, like, almost at an unrealistic level, like, hype level, to where it's just going to be really, really hard to live up to that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, here's my follow-up question then,
Even though
Gerald.
I did like it.
Okay, I was about to say, like, what did you think of the movie? Because
I didn't know
it sounds like you're building up to...
Ladies and gentlemen, before we get into this, we're going to do initial thoughts, but if you have not seen this movie, this is your warning. As Gerald said, this is a movie best kept watching for the first time and then listening to an episode after, because we're going to get into this movie. There's really no way for us to dissect this movie without actually getting into that thing I call the nitty gritty, digging really deep into that shit, spread them legs and just hop in, fucking, we're going in deep into this shit. So initial thoughts, but if you're weary of getting spoiled and you haven't seen the movie yet, wait and listen to the episode afterward.
Definitely spoilers. And also, I have to throw this out there because I have to be the sensitive, conscious one. But content warning, because there's some stuff in this movie that involves, sexual assault, child abuse. This is a pretty hardcore. Well, I mean, in terms of subject matter, it's a pretty hardcore movie.
In LoySauce, I saw a family at Alamo Winchester bring their entire family. I saw a kid that was 12. I saw a kid that was 10. I saw a kid that was 13. I'm sure if you were there, you would have loved to see those children get their heads ripped right the fuck off.
Oh,
as
sure.
They were walking out of the theater.
I mean, I would just say that if you're a parent, if I were a parent, I personally would not bring my 10-year-old to see this movie.
No.
But that's just me. So if you're listening and you don't want to engage with the following subjects, just be aware. That being said, this is definitely a movie that takes those elements and kind of injects kind of a grindhouse sense of like fun to it. I mean, I don't know. This is a pretty gnarly movie, kind of in the vein of a Don't Breathe. If you've seen Don't Breathe, this is comparable in terms of like, yeah, it gets pretty hairy, to say the least. But there's that sense of like you're going in and you kind of have to be prepared for some stuff.
So, LoySauce, before you go any further, because I force you to do this is a known thing that you do. Oh. I require you to do this.
Oh.
For those that are uninitiated, just tell them the basic idea of what this movie is.
Okay, well, Barbarian is about a woman played by Georgina Campbell, Tess. And Tess is traveling to Detroit. She books an Airbnb. She has a job interview the following morning. And she gets there and she arrives late at night. And she finds out when she gets there that the house has been double booked by a man played by Bill Skarsgård. She decides to spend the evening in the house, even though the man, Keith, is already staying there. And she finds out that nothing is what it seems, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
More than meets the eye.
Yes. She has a lot more to fear than, an unexpected guest in the house. So that only just scratches the surface. Again, that covers maybe the first half hour of the movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is a certain point in the movie where she discovers a hidden passageway in the basement that leads to secret tunnels. And what she finds in the secret tunnels, well, let's just say hijinks ensue.
Yeah.
There's that hashtag. There's that hashtag, motherfucker. I mean, just coming right off this thing, right off the bat, I mean, for sure, I feel like the first 30 minutes of this movie are maybe its strongest. I don't know. Some could argue that with me. I don't know. But what I love is the fact that this movie just jumps right in from the get-go. We have this character, Tess, who's literally just coming in for a job interview, and you could clearly see she's got some relationship issues. Her phone keeps ringing. Someone keeps bothering her, which is adding tension to the scene. It's raining. She kind of realizes once she gets there, it's not in the best area, and I won't even lie, ladies and gentlemen, I've been there. My wife sometimes books Airbnbs. Like, we're going to go to this section of Brooklyn. It's really cool. It's really rad. Or wherever we're going. And I'll be like, oh, dude, like, I think I heard gunshots down the street. Like, it's cool. The fucking brownstone we're in is rad as fuck. They got a King Kong poster on the wall, but I'm like, did I need to bring my Glock or my machine gun with me or my butcher knife?
You don't necessarily feel the most secure when you're in any Airbnb because you're in someone else's house. And
this movie takes place in fucking Detroit.
Well, sure.
And also, I love the fact that, I mean, it's been a while since we've seen Detroit. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gerald or Brian. It follows shot in Detroit and did a beautiful job.
Well, and Don't Breathe. I mentioned Don't Breathe already.
Yeah, Don't Breathe as well. Those old abandoned houses, and they use those. And you see a lot of them in the cinematography and a lot of the background shots in this movie. But the film does a beautiful, amazing job of setting the whole thing up where you're instantly, like, within the first 15 minutes of the thing, like, you're on the edge of your seat already. You're like, okay, so this chick's going to this thing. I feel like anyone that books Airbnbs has been in that situation where, like, the code is not working or the key's not working or the door's not opening up for you. So it's for today's generation, I feel like this movie is perfect. I mean, and also, if you're a parent and you've done Airbnb, so there's like, a younger audience being captured here as well as an older audience. And then, of course, the door opens, and we have none other than Pennywise himself, the evil clown, who, and my wife and I talked about this a lot. Like, Bill Skarsgård is a beautiful motherfucker. Make no mistake.
He's a handsome
gorgeous.
Man, yeah.
He's done some modeling. Most of his best photography is him just in like a leather jacket, like ripped with his hair slicked back, and every dude wants to be him. But everyone else knows, like,
or wants to be with him in
I would want to
no
be
uncertain
with him too.
Terms, but
I mean, anytime he wants, just get a hold
Bill,
of me.
Bill, call us if you're listening.
You can even dress as Pennywise, brother. Come on over.
But also, he's Pennywise the clown. I mean, he's a horror icon. And also, I'm not sure if you guys noticed this, executive producer on this movie. So he knows what he's doing here.
And
he
Justin, to your point, can I say something real quick? So to your point, my wife and I also discussed this because I got her to go to a cinema to see a horror movie with me, which I should be congratulated for that.
Congratulations.
All hail Gerald for convincing his wife. Yes.
The last time she did that was actually for It, Chapter 1, by the way, which I think is funny.
I think we know why she wants to see this movie, Gerald.
Right. But we talked about this after, and to your point, what I wanted to just kind of point out there is I feel like, and she actually brought this up, I feel like that was genius casting too, because everybody kind of immediately thinks of Pennywise when they think of him, at least anybody that's into movies. You almost out of the gate don't trust him because of his previous resume. You know what I mean? Even though it has nothing to do with the character in this movie, Keith, but you just inherently are like, there's something weird about this guy. And I think it's because of Skarsgård's career thus far, and the casting was genius in my opinion. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and it's not just the fact that he played, one of the most evil incarnate characters of all time in Pennywise. Like, it's not just that, but like the dude has those like big sunken in eyes and like
they're huge. I mean, he's so gorgeous. When you look at him, you're like, I want to be like, he's like a magnet, dude. He's magnetic.
Yeah, I mean, he's
pushed
charming
towards him.
He's charming too. The way he's written in the movie, he's very unassuming. He's charming. He has great chemistry with Georgina Campbell. I think the two of them. And the thing is, like, he starts out sinister, and he kind of gives little red flags where you're like, "Oh, girl, get out of that house." But and you're wondering the whole time, like, is he in on this? Is he is he the main threat? Like, is there going to be a heel turn where we discover that he's just a big creep and like kidnaps her or something? And so that's racing through our minds during their scenes. So there is something sinister there. And I mean, I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag. That's totally not the case. But the casting of Skarsgård is a stroke of genius, because not only do we have those preconceptions, not only is there just something sinister about him underneath the surface, or at least he can play it that way. But then we discover that is one of the many examples in which this film pulls the rug out from under us, because we're led to believe that this is the direction the movie's taking, and then sharp right turn. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I agree with you 100%. I thought that Skarsgård's character Keith was a villain in this movie until we knew he wasn't.
He would have to be, right? Like,
I mean, you know
I
what
know
I'm
what
saying.
it was, Gerald.
You know what I'm saying.
You were like, how dare he give this cheap ass wine to this very nice girl?
Right.
It's too cheap.
Yeah,
he should have went to the store and got a better better bottle of wine, better booze.
I just thought that there was going to be a twist where he was, bad in some way. And, what happens in the basement when we realize, okay, well, that's obviously not the case. Until that moment when that happened, that scene, until then I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, I was just always under that kind of spell.
I think that we have to applaud the director here, Zach Cregger. He had directed a film called Miss March. Have either of you ever seen this thing?
Is that with the Playboy Playmate or whatever?
Yes.
I feel like I did see that long time ago.
Never. And what shocks me is that when I saw the name come up on the screen, I was like, how do I not know this name? And you made this thing? You made this thing that I just fucking watched? So he's a comedy guy, and he has directed one of the most maligned comedies, in history. Like, I mean, it was widely hated when it came out. Granted, I've not seen it. But the fact that he can make that movie, which has a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then make this thing, which has a 95%, that's impressive. Yeah. And I think it shows there's hope for humanity, I think.
Well, hope for, filmmakers and especially, those who delve into the horror genre. Like, I mean, this guy, depending on what he does in the future, could mirror, Jordan Peele's career trajectory from, being part of a comedy troupe. In this case, Zach Cregger was part of Whitest Kids You Know, which if you've seen Whitest Kids You Know, there are some skits in there that are like, yeah, this is like a horror film. So yeah, I mean, we can only hope that this guy becomes another like genre hero.
It's funny that both of you guys brought up Don't Breathe, because I thought about that several times when I was watching it and when I was reflecting on it too. I mean, it's really kind of like Don't Breathe meets The Hills Have Eyes, or
I thought of
The Descent, or
Justin Long's in the film. I thought of Tusk.
Yeah. It really.
Did we mention The People Under the Stairs as well? This is basically.
I said earlier. I mentioned Wes Craven. I mouth breathed it a little bit. I whispered it. But I mean, this movie most definitely feels like the Wes Craven movie that he never got a chance to make. That could have been, had he still been alive. I feel like this would have been a movie that could have been like, he's back. You know, it feels like more Wes Craven than John Carpenter or George Romero or
definitely.
or really anybody else.
I agree.
It has very severe tension, but Wes was so perfect at bringing characters that are relatable that you connect to early on. And I think, the Tess character at first, I wasn't sure if I was going to like her, but like 15 minutes in, I was like, oh shit. Like she's a documentary person. She's trying to get this job for this film, and she just likes music. And I think it was very interesting in the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the movie where these characters connect, her and Keith, where he's like this, I guess, jazz guy or something, where like they hit it off, they drink this bottle of wine, whereas before she found out who he was, there was like these 2 bottles of wine or whatever, and he's sitting there like being this really strange, awkward guy. Right. And then as soon as he like starts talking about the documentary, oh yeah, I saw that thing that the person that you're trying to get hired by did last year. She's like, oh shit, fuck yeah, motherfucker, I'll get drunk with you.
Well, yeah,
I'll get hammered with you. Fuck yeah, let's party.
She lets her guard down a little bit, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, again, the movie plants little seeds, little moments where you're like, when she tells him that her name is Tess, he says like, that's a pretty name. He like gives her like an unsolicited compliment that like you're like, is this guy a creep?
Right. And the movie plays in general. The movie in general plays with like societal norms for like men and women, like how it's different for her versus him in this case. But just men and women, they face things differently throughout their lives, and this movie really kind of captures that in a way that's not like over. Like, it's not overdone, in my opinion. It's just like little stuff here and there.
Black Christmas 2019. Like
don't even. How dare you? How dare you mention that ever again, LoySauce?
Which that's great that you mentioned that, Gerald, and we can talk about this. But when Justin Long enters the film, that is mirrored so brilliantly with the conversation that she has with Keith before about how women have to enter situations and exercise extreme caution. Mm-hmm. Whereas men can like charge in without abandon and feel like they can just skate by on merit of being a man. And again, the movie is not heavy-handed with it at all, but the movie uses that to brilliant effect in both like terms of comedy, because this is not only a great like suspense-filled crackling thriller, it's also really funny and in ways that I didn't expect at all. We can maybe get to that, but Justin Long enters the picture.
Justin Long delivers
we need to get to that. Okay, so there's a couple of different parts of this movie. We get down to the depths of this basement, and then the movie shifts immediately to Justin Long. And I'm going to be straight up with you guys. I didn't know he was in this fucking movie.
I'm just going to tell you right now, also, to your point, to what you just mentioned, the editing in this movie is phenomenal.
Oh, it's
very
fantastic.
cleverly edited to where
the structure,
it just like is forcing the audience out of their comfort zone, and they're settled into a story, and then it's like my wife even commented after with the Justin Long
Justin Long's in a car singing some
where we're like, what the fuck is this? The same movie?
This song was? Did either of you know what that song was? And Gerald, you're like a classic.
I am, but I don't know that one.
I believe
classic
it's
rock and roll, funk, or whatever it is.
I believe it's called Ricki Tikitavi, and it's by Donovan.
Okay, there you go.
Donovan, who, of course, the amazing song Season of the Witch.
Yeah.
Which you've heard in many a movie. But anyway, again, without saying exactly what happens, Keith's character is killed off. There's a hard cut to black. You're shocked because you're like, well, I mean, that can't be the end. But then it shifts gears. There's like this tonal
different
shift.
Movie played
out. Justin Long in a car, like driving in front of like a beautiful beach. But what was
brilliant is that from that quick cut that LoySauce is talking about, it was like a new story. It was almost like, is this an anthology movie? Like, what the fuck is this?
It's Psycho.
And then you figure
honestly,
out
what I thought
how
it was,
ties back.
I thought it was a prequel or something until I realized, like, oh, now I know where they're going
later.
with this. Yeah, but I was like, oh shit, where are they going with this? Like, okay, so again, I only knew Justin Long was in this because, okay, so we'll be clear here. I wasn't spoiled on the story of the movie, but I saw someone spoil for me that Justin Long was in the movie.
Well, his name's on the poster too, I think, right?
His name is on the poster, and he is in the trailer. But if you haven't,
I did not see that. I did not pay attention to that. It was very like I was passively watching it. Dude, he's back to the horror genre. horror icon.
Yeah,
Creepers
he
fucking
is.
creepers, man. Tusk. I mean,
Dragon
it's
to
been a
Hell,
long
yeah.
time since he's been in a big movie again, and I'm just gonna say it right now. He's fucking amazing in this movie.
He's great,
I love him in this movie.
It provides all the comic relief. I mean, really, the levity to this film,
And-
but in a satirical way where it's like it wakes you up to what's going on in the world, but also you kind of giggle a little bit because his character is so.
Dude, I laughed my fucking ass off with this guy because I know this guy. I know this kind of guy. I mean, we at this point in time, we all know this kind of guy.
Yeah.
He's a bad guy.
He's a pretty despicable character, and arguably, I mean, depending on how you view the title of Barbarian, I mean, there are several characters that could be the Barbarian, and he's one of them. He's the kind of guy that you know, and you just want to deck him across the face. And he, in a sense, he becomes our de facto protagonist. And this is a character who you find out that he is accused of sexual assault. He's accused of rape.
Essentially like a Me Too kind of thing.
Exactly. It's a comment on that. And you're wondering for the longest time, like, well, where should my sympathies lie? Are we meant to believe that he didn't rape this woman, or did he? I mean, that's so brilliant because that just leads into more suspense and more of like an, okay, where is this going? Yeah, he does become effectively for a while our protagonist, and we're following him. Also,
when he finds out that this girl came forward with the assault charges or assault, whatever, and he's in his car, he Justin Long acts that so brilliantly, right? Because at first his facial expressions and I'm going, oh, he did it. He's a skis ball. He did it based on his facial expressions.
Sure.
And then as that plays out a little bit on the phone call, he starts to be a little more like kind of surprised by what he's hearing. So then you go, well, maybe he didn't do it to the extent that she's saying. Maybe she's trying to get money or whatever. And so just in that 1-2 minute scene, you kind of go back and forth with did he or didn't he? And I feel like it's his performance and his facial expressions, his reactions. And then
it's confirmed.
We find out in the nightclub, that he actually is,
once it's confirmed, we are just waiting for him to get his.
Yeah,
exactly. And by the way, that bar, that looks exactly like the kind of bar that I want to be at right now instead of talking to you guys. I want to be there right now.
The three of us could meet up and we could be at that bar right
He's
now.
clearly drinking my drink. It looks clear, which looks like vodka. So
I don't remember that, but he should have been drinking water. He needs to hydrate after all that.
Because when I saw salt, I was like, I need another drink because I want what he's drinking.
So from then on, it becomes ostensibly a comedy in which, he goes back to the house, the house in Detroit, the Airbnb he owns, and he's looking to sell it because he realizes that he's going to be in some dire financial straits because of, the allegations against him. So basically, he goes back and he starts like measuring the square footage of the house.
Yeah, to get more money out of it. Right.
His immediate reaction, and he discovers the creepy underground tunnel that Tess goes down, that Keith goes down, and we skipped over all of that. So try following us along here. But they're trapped down there, and his immediate reaction to discovering this creepy underground tunnel with a bloodstained mattress and a camera set up on a tripod is to find out how much money can be made off.
Right.
Of it.
He goes upstairs and Googles.
Don't forget, LoySauce. It's not just blood stain. There's cum stains on that too. I saw a couple of white stains on that.
Sure.
Shit.
I'm absolutely
You're
sure.
probably not wrong.
The comparison could be made to Don't Breathe. Basically, what we're dealing with is old guys with sex dungeons in Detroit.
Yeah, and LoySauce.
this needs to become a new genre, right?
It's a new cinematic
genre.
universe.
Here we go.
The Detroit Sex Dungeons cinematic universe.
I mean, seriously, there's so much you could do with that, right?
But what was genius too, I felt like, by the filmmaker here, and really by Justin Long too, is that when it's confirmed, like you mentioned, LoySauce, we hate him, right? And we want him to get his comeuppance. But we also kind of like wonder, is he going to redeem himself? Like, is he going to do something that's going to outweigh whatever we may think he did with this girl?
It's brilliant because like you are wondering, are they setting up a redemption arc for AJ? Because like he has this speech where he's like, I'm a good person who did a bad thing, or maybe I am a bad person. And you start to kind of feel for him where it's like, okay, maybe he'll make it out of this. And then, well, again, without spoiling exactly what happens, he makes a choice where you're like, oh, I just want to see this motherfucker die. Yep. I want to see him get his. And so the movie is very clever and very deftly handled in that.
I have to say, that choice that we really don't want to talk about, I really want to talk about it, but I really don't want to spoil it for people, even though they're listening to a spoiler episode.
Yeah, if you're listening to this.
It is probably like one of the moments of the movie where I was like, yes, this is amazing. It's going somewhere where I did not expect it to go. And I really, 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 really enjoyed it. I mean,
are you talking about at the end on the water tower, or what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's what.
Yeah. Well, the movie, I mean, it jumps around a little bit. There's some stuff where I'll make no mistake here and just be as honest as possible. Once it gets past where we're introduced to the AJ character, I kind of saw where it was going a little bit. Yeah. A little bit. I was like, okay. So we know there's something down there in the basement. Okay. So this guy is hard up. He shouldn't be. He was on a sitcom for real. He just did a pilot for a sitcom and he's that hard up for money. And then no one wants to touch him. But in reality, in Hollywood, that's how it works. That no one wants to touch you. And it's just so funny that it was Justin Long cast in this role and that he agreed to do this, especially considering the fact that this is the same Justin Long that was in Jeepers Creepers, which is an iconic movie, but he also worked with a known convicted pedophile. Right. I don't know, guys. You tell me. Is this his way of like accepting that and like showing the public that he's aware of that? Or like... maybe he's just, I don't know. I mean, like Victor Salva's like literally like a child fucking pedophile, like
he's
rapist.
A piece of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he did Jeepers Creepers with him. And
well, so. I was wondering if there was a Jeepers Creepers reference to how Justin Long gets his in the end, with the eyes,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and honestly, and I said this the other day, like, I love the first Jeepers Creepers. It's one of my favorite movies of that time period for horror movies. I'd love to screen it at Alamo. I know it's like kind of a thing it's a no-no or whatever. Well, I still think it's great. I mean, like, regardless of the director behind it and what he did on his own time, I think it's a great horror movie.
I mean, but it's Rosemary's Baby is one of the greatest movies of all time, and Polanski directed that, and separating the art from the artist.
We could argue those two things, but we're not going to do that on this episode.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you could go to Hollywood right now and throw a rock, and you'd hit somebody that's assaulted a female. I mean, it's like, it's just rampant, and it's
well, there's a I feel like listen, there's a difference between certain things versus certain things, but Victor Salva literally molested like young children, boys and girls, underage boys and girls. So
certainly. Well, I think the movie, what's clever about the movie is that it takes shots at, rapists are subject to ridicule. The movie hates cops. Like it's very, honestly, it's a woke movie without the derogatory, like, what people think woke is or
like
means.
It's like a hidden woke movie, kind of like.
But I think it did a great job. And I mean, I don't know about you two, but I've seen cops act that way in front of me, where we were dude. Yeah,
I mean, the movie totally understands cops,
right? And not to come to the cops' defense, but also an argument can be made like this is Detroit, like. People getting shot every 2 minutes, like, crack houses on every corner. Like,
sure, but here's a woman covered in like dirt and blood saying, like, help me, please, like pleading with them.
Here's the thing.
And their first concern is get your hands off the car.
Exactly.
Well, what I loved about this scene, and I just need to make this clear with you guys, and we're not a woke show at all. My daughter's a woke person, and I respect that. But what I loved about this scene, had that cop been a white cop, then the scene would have been very like on the nerve, right? But it was a black cop, an African-American cop with an African-American character.
Sure.
And they're dealing with each other. Had it been like an African-American character dealing with a white cop, then they would have went there, and it would have been on the nose.
And I think the female part is still playing into the
yeah.
overarching narrative too. Like she's a girl, a minority girl or woman who's seeking assistance from the police, and they're dismissing her. You know,
well,
sure.
Black cops are part of the system too. I mean, like you know, it's systemic.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is it would have been way more on the nose.
Sure.
Because we've seen those other movies portray it this way. We've seen the media portray it this way, where every white cop is pure evil, and anyone else that's even a semi-minority or that's someone that, you know.
But to your point, I think it was smart to put a black cop in that role, though, because kind of like what LoySauce is saying, it's like the system against a minority female in this case, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, that's what I saw. Regardless of what the cop looked like, it was because she was a minority woman in that scenario. That was why she was facing that pushback from the police.
Also,
had that been Skarsgård's character,
Gerald, let's make no mistake. She looked like fucking shit that day.
Well, yeah, she did.
She was
and
dirty.
Then they thought she was probably a crackhead because of the neighborhood she was in.
Dude, I see crackheads. I mean, I live in Winchester, Virginia, in the middle of nowhere, and I see crackheads down the street. You go anywhere around wherever you live, you see people that are begging or whatever. And I hate to call them crackheads because I used to be one myself. I'm being honest. I'm just being honest in this episode.
We're learning things about each other.
I once was in my very young years. Fuck it. Who cares? Who cares? It's called brain stew. My brain is made of stew.
There it is.
Motherfucker. But no, in all reality, it added more tension to the scene because we're like, oh shit, dude, this guy's leaving her and she's
on her own, dude.
She's this crazed about this situation. Now, of course, my wife is sitting in my ear like, I would have left. I would have been the fuck out of there that second. But I kept telling her, I was like, listen, those elements don't even matter in these movies because if you left, there'd be no movie.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, this movie could have been called Don't Go In There because there's so many moments where, you know, characters make choices.
Hold on, stop. Make sure to go trademark that name right the fuck right now. We're going to go make that movie next week.
Don't go in there. It's a 5-minute movie. I didn't go in. It's over.
Basically. But, you know, as horror fans, we have to, you know, give a little caveat and say, like, okay, like, these are horror movie choices. You know, if the character did not enter the door, there would not be a movie. But the movie, I don't think Barbarian abuses these choices. I mean, I think ultimately what the movie is doing is it's like a morality play. It's, you know, or it's a morality test, rather. It's like Tess passes, AJ fails, and that's ultimately what the movie is leading towards. And that's why they have these juxtaposed, you know, scenes where, like, it starts out following Tess. And, you know, once that part of the film concludes, then we're following AJ. And we see the choices that they make, again, like mirroring the conversation that Tess has with Keith about, like, you know, men charging in and, you know, women having to be a little bit more they have to protect themselves and they have to, you know, make smarter choices by virtue of being a woman. And then we see Justin Long, like, completely, you know, coming in with the tape measure and not even flinching when he sees that there's a sex dungeon underneath his house.
Right.
So,
can I just be honest that I laughed during that?
Oh,
that
me too. Well,
very funny.
It's totally up for ridicule. Like the movie, it's a very intentional comedy. And I have to say, like, I mean, I think the movie does a pretty pitch perfect job of balancing tension and tension breaking moments. It's extremely well handled. And I love how the movie kind of gives you that little break where it puts the building dread of the first half hour on the back burner a little bit. So you can, like, kind of laugh because you've seen what's in the basement. And that's why the structure of the movie is so clever, because it's dramatic irony. You know what's down there, but Justin Long does it. And so you're just waiting. You're waiting for him to find out. So, and basically what's down there is an inbred woman with super strength.
Yeah.
With very droopy, very large, very, very large. I think she's a double D. Maybe she's a B.
Well, they're filled.
Very droopy breasts.
They're filled.
I call them
milk.
Breasts. Filled. I honestly, man, they made me thirsty. I wanted to drink out of them motherfuckers. I'm just being honest. They looked like they were tasty.
Wow.
You did.
Yeah.
She was giving out samples, man. So if you could have just found your way down to the basement,
they
you'd
were
been good.
squirting. I was like, you know what? Maybe I want to be in that dungeon and be fed by them. They look really delicious.
Oi.
Wow. Well,
Look at you.
That scene with the bottle is up there with the turkey baster and Don't Breathe in terms of like. I mean,
But dude, it's not going into an orifice or a special area.
The mouth is an orifice.
I saw the foreshadowing. I saw the foreshadowing of what Justin Long was going to go through with the breastfeeding there when they kept showing the VHS tape.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
And I was like, oh, this is not going to go. Like, it's either going to be him or Tess or somebody's going to be, breastfeeding off this lady.
I wish I saw this in a packed theater. I mean, unfortunately, I saw this at like around 10 p.m. on a Saturday night. There were only about 30 people in the audience, but I wish I had seen it.
That's not bad, dude. That's not bad at all, actually.
I guess, but if I had been in a theater with 100 people in the auditorium, I feel like there would have been more reaction. I feel like I would have fed off that energy of like the audience going, "Oh no, like don't go in there, don't do this." And
right.
Well, we can all sit here and pretend like we all want to live in the 80s, as me and Gerald have.
Yeah.
And you didn't.
Most people at home, were at home streaming something on Netflix or something probably, and not at the theater watching this. But I'm glad I saw it in a theater for sure. I feel like it's the best way to experience it because you don't get that same thrill, that same vibe. I just wish it had been a little bit more because that scene is made for audience reaction. It's shocking. Sure. It's disgusting.
It's cringeworthy. It's cringeworthy.
You're kind of squirming in your seat. The other reason I love that scene is because it's revealed moments before that Tess is actually alive. I was wondering the whole time, like, did Tess die and we're just following Justin Long for the rest of the movie? And it's revealed that she's alive and she's been, she's been sucking on that nipple of the bottle this whole time, like, and trying to warn him, like, do what she says, do what she wants, right. Because otherwise you're going to end up like Keith with your brains all over the floor. Had I fallen
down there, I've been like, no need to speak any further, baby. I'm all about that nipple. I'll drink it all day and night.
2%. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But so the mother character, I mean, we have to talk about first of all, very impressive makeup job on this character. Mm-hmm. I think I read the actor said it was a 3-hour makeup, transformation into the mother. I think she's just called the mother in the credits. But yeah, really impressive look to the character. I mean, there are moments that just send shivers up the spine where...
Terrifying.
Where she, there are moments where she's, loud and screaming and moving very quickly. And there are other moments where she's completely still and she moves very slowly. And it just, there are images in the movie that I kept thinking about and dreamed about of this character shrouded, in shadow. They don't show too much of her until the end.
It's not a monster. Let's make no mistake, guys. It's not a monster. It's a very human-like character that grew up in this environment, and we know the environment because we saw that flashback sequence, which, by the way,
amazing.
We didn't talk about beautiful flashback sequence, pitch fucking perfect. The music, the cars,
camera work,
the grocery store, the camera work, everything.
And Richard Brake is a creepy guy.
Well, what I told Danielle, my wife, and I said they grab this guy anytime they need like a creepy looking bad guy. I mean,
of course.
He's literally the guy in Batman Begins where they're like, we need someone to kill the Waynes. You're going to be that guy. And that was like 2005. And Rob Zombie likes to use him. He's been in like 31 and a bunch of Rob Zombie movies. He looks like, what most people think of is, I hate to say it, like a child molester / serial killer.
Yeah.
But he fits the bill. And that sequence was thrilling to me and terrifying to me. I think everything about the movie, and I love this push. The Black Phone was earlier this year, which I also really loved.
Really loved? I don't know. It was a movie that existed. It was
apparently neither of you listen to the episode, so go fucking listen before you get on here.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I wasn't allowed to have an opinion that differed from yours.
No, you're not.
Not without listening to the podcast, apparently.
I listen. Justin doesn't give me nearly enough credit.
No. Okay. It's fine. The
Black Phone is fine at best.
The Black Phone is very good in terms of suspense.
All right.
I wish. Okay. Side note.
No side nothing. What I'm saying is, in terms of the representation of an earlier time, the
Sure.
70s, the 80s.
The aesthetic.
That's
right.
what I was bringing up. A time, LoySauce, in which you have never lived.
And
so
the
it's a time you are not allowed to speak on because you've never lived it.
So this movie has a
are-
lot of like thrilling stuff and chills and horror, right? One of the best chills I got from this movie was when that character in the flashback, at the end of the flashback, and everybody's leaving Detroit, and of course we know what it turns into in present day with everything that's going on with Tess
Juggalos.
and the neighborhood's fucking destroyed.
ICP, Fagel
So-
and ICP. That's what it turned into.
So his neighbor's like, look, we're leaving town. Like, the neighborhood's going to shit, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm not going anywhere. You know, and you're like, I mean, that just gave me chills because, like, all right, this guy's literally building a fucking underground whatever. And he's going to be raising these barbarians, so to speak. And it was, I don't know, I felt like that was a really chilling segue to our final act of the movie, I felt like.
Definitely. And it also, I mean, what the movie does that the Black Phone didn't was that it allows you, the story is structured again so that it allows you moments where you're not underneath the claustrophobic tunnels or you're not confined to this one location. It opens it up a little bit at exactly the right moments to give you a little break from the tension of feeling like you're stuck in this one location. So the fact that we follow this character, this serial killer character.
The Black Phone showed, I mean, his sister in her bedroom. We saw their characters out and about.
His sister that did nothing to the story. Like, why would she led the police there?
She cussed and said, Jesus fucking Christ.
I know she did.
So that's a scene.
It is a
thing.
scene. You're certainly correct. It was a scene in the movie. But anyway, so the Black Phone, I felt this is a one location movie, and it felt claustrophobic in a way that Barbarian at least kind of lets you breathe a little bit.
But I mean, in reality, I don't think Tess really goes anywhere that's all that more important. She goes to like a gas station or something. I mean, she's in Detroit. She doesn't really go anywhere that important. It's not like she's like, yeah, I'm going to drive to the city and go have a drink at this posh bar or anything. Like, it's still,
well, no.
I feel like it's still segregated to this small little area. So it's still just as suspenseful as, because if you know Detroit and the area that the house is supposed to be in, it's kind of the same idea.
Yeah, I mean, no, don't get me wrong. Like, the characters are trapped, but I'm talking about in terms of the structure of the movie. Like, again, like when Keith and Tess go down to the basement, that's when the movie goes back to the Justin Long character, and then, you know, more hijinks ensue, and then we cut to the serial killer character going about his day, and we're seeing, I guess more of the neighborhood, more of the world. And then in the end, I thought they were going to stay in the tunnels the entire time. In the end, they finally escape the house, and they're being chased by the mother.
And this is the thing. I
wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't expecting this either. And I think this is the part of the film that, and Gerald, I'll require your comments on this. I feel like a lot of people are loving the movie. They're in the movie 100%, like feeling it up until this point. Then once they leave, and then we get
the best thing this movie has going for it is subverting our expectations. And you guys have both been saying, I didn't expect that, I didn't expect this. And I agree with you. And I think that's the beauty of this film overall, is that there were so many hard lefts when you thought it was going to go straight. And they were all, like my wife, who's not a horror fan, right? She's watching the movie. Like, to her as a casual viewer, she's kind of like disoriented. Like, is this the same movie? Like, what's happening? But when you get done with the film and you look back on it, or even now as we're sitting here reflecting on it, that's the beauty of it, is that it did so many things that were unexpected, and it took so many chances, and it went in so many different directions. At the end of the day, the story all ties together. It all comes down to the climax at the end of the film with the water tower with the mother, and that was a beautiful ending, I thought, to this film, and I love the way it came to its climax there. But I think the best thing, if I'm giving praise to this movie, my number one praise is subverting our expectations as an audience, and something in horror that doesn't happen as much today as it did we've seen everything. So it's like, what can they do? What can filmmakers do to make something different these days? And I felt like this was done really well. It really took so many different turns and twists and turns, and it just kind of kept us guessing as to what we were going to end up seeing.
I fully agree. I mean, I read in an interview with the director, he did say that he wrote the first, that first 30 minutes, he wrote that. And then he was like, well, okay, then what happened? So clearly he didn't write it with the entire arc of the movie in mind. But the fact that he managed to kind of tie everything together in a way that I'm excited to watch the movie again, because I feel like with what, going in, knowing where it's all going to end up, I can kind of see if even more little seeds are planted throughout to kind of hint at that eventual conclusion. But I will say, I agree with Justin to a certain extent that I feel like once the mother character is revealed, there's a little bit of surprise that's eked out of the movie. Because I feel like that first half hour is so brilliant at ratcheting up the tension. Once you figure out what's under there, you're like, okay, you're not as on the edge of your seat as you probably were.
I expected a lot more to come from that. I didn't expect just one. I expected a lot more. The
movie does hint, because there's one point where Justin Long is navigating the tunnels and he has his cell phone light to kind of look around. Or no, he has a flashlight rather. And there's a moment where he has a choice to go left or right, and he goes right. And I'm like, well, what's left? Yeah, exactly. So I feel like, I mean, if you wanted to make a sequel or do whatever, there's maybe more to be mined from this concept. But I think ultimately, I don't know if I was expecting more necessarily, but I just felt like, okay, once the twist happens, I could kind of rest a little bit easier. However, I have to say that pretty much every scene, from scene to scene, I didn't really know what it would do. And that is nice to kind of have a horror movie that's, built on surprise. I mean, as much as I loved, Scream, as much as I loved X, those are movies where you're like, okay, I pretty much know what I'm going to get. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, of course, but to have a horror movie where you're like, where is this going? What's going to happen? It's refreshing for sure.
I think that I love to hear you say that, because that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know if underwhelm's the right word, but I mean, when it comes to the, mother character and what we learn as the kind of imposing threat that's been there the whole time, that was not the feature for me. The feature was more the storytelling aspect and the way the movie was told to us.
Sure.
As horror fans, and how it did keep us guessing as to where this movie's going. And I kind of really, really enjoyed, and Justin, you were asking me this earlier, I really enjoyed when they kind of got out of the house and the mother left her safe space to, someone could argue, get her children. I mean, that's kind of what she was thinking,
Yeah, although the homeless guy did say that she comes out at night.
I know.
So.
And then he's like, he was
there for
living here
exposition.
for 15 years, and she's never bothered me here. Then we all saw Splat.
That deep blue sea moment where it's like,
there it is.
You have a character.
The shark came out of the water, and there it was. But
you have a character saying we're safe here, and then as he's saying it,
guys, I'll just say this much though for that scene. I was hoping for so much more, because even my wife didn't jump for that scene, and she should have. I looked around, and I waited, and I was like, I know where it's going to come here.
Yeah,
it's happening.
You can kind of see it coming.
I literally telegraphed. I mean, we know a guy that directed this movie is very talented. He had a vision, which is very pure.
Yeah.
Almost perfect. He's still not there yet, though. And he's not above and beyond our minds in terms of us being horror moviegoers, where we're like, I think I know what you're doing there. He tricked us a few times. I won't lie. He definitely did trick us. But when it got to that point, I was like, I know where it's going. And I was waiting for Danielle to jump. She did not jump. And if my wife didn't jump during that scene, that means it wasn't there yet.
Well, that's kind of, I was saying, that's kind of what.
Cut me off. Dude, I'll cut your fucking head off next time I see you, man. I'll chop that beard off, and I'll then I'll paste some of it. I'll glue some of it on your head and shit. And
oh, thank God. I need it. But that's kind of what I mean, though, is that anything that had to do with the mother character as the antagonist underwhelmed me. And I know that might be an unpopular
really? Okay.
opinion.
No, I mean, I don't know.
But
my
biggest love of this movie was the way the filmmaker told us the story. And the way it was.
Yeah, I mean, again, once the mother character is revealed, you're like, okay, I get what she is.
It's kind of what I'm saying.
But I think the beautiful thing that the film does is that it also kind of teases a redemption arc, not only for AJ, but for the mother. And
I felt for her the whole time.
She's a victim, and you're like, oh, okay. Like when she's caring for Tess at the end, as if she were her child, Tess kind of shows slight hesitation before shooting her in the goddamn head, and the credits roll. But there's that moment where you're like, is Tess gonna, have that kind of
reciprocate the
moment of humanity that we all have as audience members?
I hate to try to cut you off, LoySauce, but I literally
hate it too.
Well, I heard you.
I'm just kidding.
I heard you speak it out loud. That ending, and
it's very abrupt.
Well, when it is abrupt, but when I recall it in my head, I'm just thankful and I'm so appreciative. This year alone, in terms of being like a horror lover or a cinephile or whatever you want to call yourself, but with you two on this panel right now, tonight. For this movie, for Barbarian. Listen, I live in Winchester, Virginia. I'm getting that. I can't help it anymore. I'm so sorry. And I watched Pearl earlier this week. I'm sorry, darling. I just want y'all on my lap here.
We also may have watched Elvis recently.
Oh, I love Elvis. Well, me and Gerald are biggest Elvis fans of all time. We're gonna go meet at Graceland this year for Christmas.
Damn right, baby.
We're gonna have a Christmas dinner there, and I'm
peanut butter and banana.
Put on my whole jet black hair and shit back, and it's happening. But in reality, it's so hard for me to walk out of this and be like, listen, think of how many years that we had a drought, or we had one or two good horror movies, and we've had, again, I understand you guys not living the black phone. That's fine. So many movies released this year where there was quality filmmakers and quality filmmaking being put behind these films. And for me, it makes me want to cry. I mean, it really does, because the genre is thriving. It really is. I mean, it's thriving to the fact where LoySauce, you said it earlier, this movie made bank. It was number one, you said, at the box office?
Well, I don't know about making bank, but it made its budget back, and it's likely going to do very well.
Well, that's making bank.
I think that the horror genre is prime set for just what LoySauce said, a renaissance, because of COVID. And because when people want to gather in the theater, they want to be scared. They want to be thrilled. You could maybe make an argument for movies like Top Gun Maverick and action movies and stuff like that, which is great too. But there's just something about just the uneasiness and the unsettling feeling that comes with a great horror movie when it's done well.
Well, in the sense of fun too. This movie is fun.
You're having a good time with it.
It's true. This movie is fun.
I agree.
And I think that's, to set it apart from the other movies the rest of the year, I mean, we obviously Nope was fun. The Black Phone was definitely not fun. I mean, Axe was fun. Wait till you guys see Pearl. You guys haven't seen it yet. And
I want to see it.
I can't talk about it until I review it with you guys.
Halloween Ends is coming out next month. I mean,
I don't know how fun that'll be, but I mean, in reality, a movie like this, most definitely, like LoySauce, and thinking about it logically, this AJ character played by Justin Long, he's a douchebag. He's a terrible guy, but seeing this guy, walk through the movie, it's fun. You're like, I kind of want to see this guy die a horrible death, and you're just waiting for it the entire time. And
you do.
Mm-hmm. You do. And the movie
just to touch on it real quick, I love the fucking ending. You guys brought it up.
Right on.
I liked it. Guys, let's make a movie and fucking get out. Why are we, you know what I mean? This dragon shit
why
on,
are we wasting time
what
on
happens with,
yeah,
it's the movie, we saw what we wanted to see. This was the end of the movie. The villain is dead. If you want to do a sequel, great.
Gerald,
but otherwise, the movie's over. Let's fucking go home, guys.
Just wait, dude. Just wait until me and LoySauce finish Geese. It's been in the making for 10 years. We're making Geese. You think Jaws is scary? You think Piranha's scary?
Justin, don't be talking about Geese, because someone's going to steal our idea and make the movie before us.
I already trademarked it.
Oh, really?
I own the trademark to Geese. Motherfucker, trying to steal that shit. Geese in 3D. You think geese are scary flying at you in the park? Wait till you see geese in 3D. Dude, I already had the patent on it. It's like, yeah, in 40 years when we're like old ass motherfuckers, yeah, geese in 3D. For real though. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is that time during this episode where we like to do that thing that we call trash it or treasure it. So I'm going to throw it to LoySauce, you're not a guest. Move aside.
Am I not?
Move aside. Gerald, are you going to trash or treasure Barbarian?
What do you guys think? I'm going to treasure it. This is a treasure in the horror genre. It's
I don't know how to. Do you want me to disown you or?
Nah, you're good. I mean, I've got issues with it. I think I expressed them somewhat on the episode. I mean, from being such a huge fan of movies like The Descent and, The Hills Have Eyes and those kind of like cave people, shit that we've gotten in the horror genre, it was a little underwhelming from that perspective, but there were so many great things built into the storytelling and the way the movie was shot and the fact that this is essentially a first-time filmmaker. I mean, definitely early in his career is also really exciting. I liked it. I mean, it's weird because it's like there's
Jarrod, Miss March came out in 2009, so he's not exactly.
I mean, this is no Miss March,
rodeo.
You know what I mean? But there's I liked it, I loved it, and I'm in love with it. I think I'm kind of like I loved it. There was a lot of great things that I really enjoyed, but just I don't know, I think it has a lot to do, which ironically, Loy, we were talking about at the very beginning of the episode, but some of that marketing stuff at the beginning and the hype train may have skewed my enjoyment of it because I kind of went into it expecting.
Look at both of y'all. One of y'all works at a theater. You've been working at a theater for how long? And y'all are still falling prey to this shit. And I won't even lie, though. And I will fall lock in step with you, Gerald, that still gets me to this day. So I really can't. I want to hate you for this take and stab you in the throat and say, you're wrong, Gerald. Get the fuck out of here. We'll never bring you back ever again.
Damn.
But in reality, it's true, though. And we're all human. We all react to these things the same way. The trailer was what the trailer was. But you still liked it, though.
Yeah, I treasure it. Treasure for me.
There it is. And Saucy is bossy. LoySauce.
Well, I'm glad you're not having me rate this on a number scale because I've always hated doing that.
That's why. Yeah, Brain Stew's easier.
Yeah,
it's yay or nay.
Yay for me. I'm going to treasure it. I mean, I think this is, a nasty little things that go bump in the night thriller. I think it has, the technical. We didn't even really touch on the technical aspects of the movie from the truly shivery sound design.
You mean you didn't?
Well, I mean, I'm about to. Great techniques. There's moments like there's a part where you see clothes tumbling in a washing machine, and it instantly cuts to a shot of a cup of tea, and I like just the way things are framed. There's a lot of like foreground, background shots where something's happening in the background that's extremely creepy, and it all supports the tension, the building tension throughout the film.
Spooky.
Absolutely. There's camera. Like the camera techniques of like characters walking and the cameras following them from the back. There's like sleek, almost like GoPro shots for the action stuff. So yeah, I mean, and also like with like Sam Raimi or Wes Craven-esque Glee, it kind of pulls the rug out from the audience pretty consistently, and almost every scene is this just deliciously demented surprise. And I think
what you're trying to say is that you treasure this movie. I think in a year full of exceptional horror movies, this is one of the gnarliest and most refreshing offerings. So I have to give a treasure it to Barbarian. Justin. And you don't need to say my name, but yes, I applaud the both of you. Seriously, thank you so much. Two of my most, I'm hard to find words to actually describe the two of you. Gerald helped create and kick off this thing that is Brain Stew. And LoySauce, you've always been part of this brand from the beginning. I'm so thankful you guys came on for this episode, and I'm sure Jeremy and Brady are both appreciative as well, since they were not available. And ladies and gentlemen, look forward to more massive crossovers in the future. We are looking forward to doing way bigger crossovers and bigger panels.
But not bigger than this one, right?
Oh, yeah. Much. Oh, I don't know. Should I?
Doesn't get any bigger than this, brother.
Should I measure the size of my cock right now, and then you guys can measure the size of yours, and we could add it up, and then we can do that thing.
I don't think we need to do all that. The biggest panel.
Well, he was talking about measuring stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, yes, I digress. Yes, I give this movie. I really love this movie, and in reality, maybe these guys gave me a realization. I liked this movie better than The Black Phone, for sure.
Of course you did.
There's a
not
reason
a high bar to
for
clear,
that,
but
what's that?
I said not a high bar to clear, but
Yeah, of
Fair enough.
course you did.
The Black Phone was fucking brilliant, fantastic.
it was
I love how Gerald's sitting there
okay.
stroking his beard, and he's like,
It's okay.
"Yeah, it's okay." In a world
because
where
we're pretentious. We're pretentious critics who
well, yeah, you
massage
are.
our beards.
Well, you are a pretentious critic. Grow your beard back, LoySauce. Then you have the right to stroke your beard.
Then I could run my fingers through it as I pretentiously.
Gerald has the right. Gerald has the right to stroke his beard. You do not, because you have no
I'd like to
beard.
stroke LoySauce's beard if he ever grows it back.
Ooh.
We could do that while I
I'd like to-
talk pretentiously about
I stroked his beard one night, and you don't know what
I'd like to
happened
stroke
after
something
that.
else.
Hey, while I stroke your beard. Hey.
But I mean, in reality, though, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is the year, though. I feel like we are on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
We have had so many amazing horror films this year so far. And I can't wait for you guys to see Pearl. I can't wait to review that movie. But we're in a renaissance, as LoySauce said. And I'm so excited about this because this means, not only do I have a job, but my favorite genre of all time is thriving. And these filmmakers have these opportunities to do new things with the genre. We're there. Here we are. But ladies and gentlemen, we are done with this episode for Barbarian. If you've seen the movie, let us know what you think in the comments section. If you think Gerald's wrong, shit on his beard, say you want to actually take a giant dump on it.
Wow.
If you want LoySauce to grow his beard back, which he should, let him know in the comment section. But Gerald, if they want to find you on social media, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, brother, we got a pretty sweet October lineup coming up, actually. Justin's on 2 of the 5 episodes that I have next month for Halloween.
I am?
You are. You've already done one of them. You probably forgot, I guess. And the other ones we're recording next week. But yeah, we got a lot of fun horror stuff on my show, too, coming up, because every October I do top 5 lists around the horror genre, Halloween themed. And then the rest of the year is just fun top 5 topics for movies, TV, music. So
I want to do a top 5 Motley Crue songs.
okay, we could do that. We could do big hair band, though, or just Motley Crue?
We could do Motley Crue, then we could do... I know you like top 5. I would like top 10.
Oh, wow. All right. So I got to change the whole format of the show to have you over there?
Yeah.
All right. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll do it for
unless
you.
Unless you want to do top 5 Def Leppard, top 5 Poison, top 5 Quiet Riot, top
Do all
5
that.
fucking AC/DC, top 5. I mean, we could keep doing the whole thing for the rest of our lives when we dead.
Yeah, I'm down with that. But the easiest
I
thing...
think we should do top 5 movies called Tammy and the T-Rex.
Yeah, dude. I know what's on my list.
Listen, I just saw LoySauce do a face. Who are you, Dinosaur Dracula?
If only. Dinosaur Dracula, if you're listening, which I know you are, come on the show. We'd love to have you.
Mm-hmm.
He is listening, actually.
We love you. We watch all your videos. It's about that time. It's about that Halloween time. Justin, you and I, next month, are going to be hosting a Terror Tuesday screening of Trick or Treat. One of our
Holy
favorite
shit,
movies.
Look what he pulled out of his back pocket here. Look at how professional he is.
I have to do a little bit of self-promotion. You know,
You have to.
If you're in the DC area, if you're in the Northern Virginia
First
area.
off, don't talk about Trick or Treat. First, talk about the WNUF Halloween sequel that we're both in.
Oh,
that you're
man.
also hosting.
Yes,
That's
October
first, motherfucker.
October 1st, Alamo Drafthouse, Ashburn. Director Chris LaMartina and horror host Aurora Borealis are going to be in attendance, hosting a screening of the WNUF Halloween sequel, or as it's officially called, the Out There Halloween Megatape.
Yeah.
Yes, if you've not seen this movie yet, definitely track it down. It's on DVD, or
Send
again,
Gerald.
if you're in the area,
send Gerald a copy. He looks.
Definitely.
Yeah,
but
unhappy about it.
if you love Halloween, if you love all things nostalgia, 90s horror, definitely check it out. And it's not scary. It's more fun than scary. And
I was scared.
Oh, sure.
I was scared.
But yeah, it's going to be an amazing event. We'll be there. Hang out with us. It's going to be great. And then on the 18th, Terror Tuesday, Trick or Treat. We got a lot of stuff to look forward to.
And dismember the Alamo, which is the biggest horror fest that we do every single year. LoySauce.
Indeed.
We can't talk about the titles, but
no, we
can talk about the dates.
It's a mystery.
You can talk about the dates.
October 28th, last Saturday of October, is Dismember the Alamo. Tickets are not on sale quite yet, but again, if you're in the area, Alamo Drafthouse, Ashburn, come hang out with us. Lots of spooky stuff to come. We're getting to that time of year, fellas.
And that's our way of saying, Gerald, get your ass out of your comfort zone and get the fuck up here to Northern Virginia, because we have the best, literally the best October planned for any Alamo. Everyone needs to come out for that shit. But thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming for this episode of Fresh Frights. Barbarian. I hope all of you have seen this movie. If you haven't, go see this movie. Gerald said you should. LoySauce said you should. I said you should. Everyone should see this movie.
Without a doubt.
There it is.
100p, 100.
So for myself, from Gerald, say hello, Gerald.
Hello, Gerald.
And the LoySauce.
There it is.
And until next time, I'm Justin.
And I'm Gerald.
And I'm Brian.
With an I? Or is it a Y?
Shut your mouth.
What in the actual fuck are you? You're the LoySauce. And we'll see you.
Oh, we're doing that. We're not, stay creepy or whatever it is you guys say.
Keep it
We're doing old school.
Say it. Say it.
We will see you at
the
movies.
Shine through them fiery gems for you, only for you. Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything